All right, today we're diving into a legal case that is just mind-blowing. It's a story that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about who's responsible in a car crash. We're talking about a drunk driving accident where the person convicted wasn't even the one driving.
So here's the big question, the real head-scratcher. The guy was in the passenger seat. He was apparently asleep when the crash happened. And yet the court found him just as guilty as the person behind the wheel. I mean, how on earth is that even possible? Let's get into it and unpack exactly what happened.
So where does this all start? Well, it kicks off after a work event. But what you had here was a mix of military hierarchy and one really, really bad decision. And that's what set the stage for total disaster. Okay, so picture it. It's a dark, stormy night. A military team just wrapped up a dinner not far from their base, and yeah, everyone's had a few drinks. The two key people in our story are there. A senior officer, we'll just call him Officer A, and his junior, a driver, who we'll call B. Now, as they're getting ready to leave, the rain is just coming down in sheets. And that's when Officer A says it. He doesn't ask, he tells his junior, just drive us back. Given that military power dynamic, this wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. And that one sentence, that changes everything. You got a feel for the junior driver here, right? He's in a really tough spot. He knows he's been drinking, but he's got a direct order from a superior officer staring him down. So he obeys. He gets behind the wheel. And Officer A, he just gets in the passenger seat. And pretty soon, he's out cold, asleep. And you can probably guess what happens next. It's just tragically predictable. Driving drunk on a wet, slick road is a recipe for disaster. The car loses control, spins out, and smashes right into a structure on the side of the road. A really serious crash. So when this gets to court, you have two completely different stories. The officer's defense is pretty straightforward. Hey, I wasn't driving. I was asleep. How can I be responsible? But the prosecution, they saw things very differently. They argued that by ordering his junior to drive drunk, Officer A wasn't some innocent passenger. He was the one who set the whole thing in motion. So how did the court handle this? You have these two totally opposite arguments. Well, this is where the story gets really, really interesting. The judges brought in a powerful legal idea that completely changed the definition of who was actually in control of that car. The key legal term here is co-perpetrator of a negligent crime. Now, when you think of accomplices, you're probably picturing a bank robbery, right? People planning it all out. But this concept is different. It says you can be partners in a crime that happens because of carelessness. It's about having a shared, even unspoken agreement to just be reckless together. So the court laid it out in three really simple steps. Check this out. First, Officer A knew the driver was drunk, no question, but he ordered him to drive anyway. Second, when the junior driver obeyed, they basically formed an unspoken pact to do something incredibly dangerous. And third, this is the real kicker, the court said that because they made that decision together, they were both responsible for the act of driving. And this, right here, is what they call functional control. The court decided that Officer A had functional control of the situation. His hands weren't on the steering wheel, no. But his words, his authority, that was the real force that made that dangerous trip happen. Legally speaking, his order was the exact same thing as him turning the key in the ignition. Okay, so a military officer in a unique situation got convicted. Why should you care? Well, because the legal idea from this case has huge implications for any of us who might ever find ourselves in a car with someone who's been drinking. This case basically gives us a new set of rules for the passenger seat. Rule number one, obviously, is never get in a car if the driver's had anything to drink. But it goes further than that. The court says you should actively try to stop them. And all those excuses we've all heard. Oh, it's just a short drive, or we can't get a cab. A judge is not going to care. The law is crystal clear on this. And get this, it's not even just about giving a direct order. Even if you're just passive, if you just let someone drive drunk without saying anything, you could land in serious legal hot water. The law can see your silence, your inaction, as a form of helping them commit the crime. And how serious are we talking? Well, in South Korea, if you're found guilty of aiding and abetting a drunk driver, you could be looking at a fine of up to 5 million won, that's roughly $4,000, and up to 1.5 years in prison. All for just being in the car and not doing enough to stop it. That passenger seat is no longer a get-out-of-jail-free zone. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's a critical piece of legal common sense. The law looks deeper. It looks beyond who is physically turning the wheel to who is truly in control of the situation. It's a powerful and, honestly, a pretty scary reminder that sometimes just giving an order is exactly the same as turning the key yourself.